Council Martin Kennedy.
We're all done taking pictures.
Good evening, everyone. This is a regularly scheduled City Council meeting of April 7th. Could we all please rise? Begin this meeting with a prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. We all please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please kindly call the roll?
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
There's 9 present.
President, first item on the agenda, I'm sorry, a moment of silence. Chair would like to recognize Councilor Marcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Edward L. Morris. Ed graduated from Keith Academy in 1962 and from St. Anselm College in 1966. While teaching at Lowell High School from 1966 to 75, he attended night classes at Assumption College, graduating with a master's degree in English in 1972. His next challenge was law school, which he attended at night while teaching at the Greater Lowell Vocational School. He graduated from Suffolk Law School in 1976. Ed served nearly 4 decades of service at the bar, working first as an attorney for Lowell and Dracut Public Schools, and eventually in the City of Lowell Law Department and for various other municipal entities. He also maintained a private practice. Ed is survived by Joanne, the love of his life, with over 50 years of an abiding affection and love for each other. His children are Jonalyn, Bethany, and Eddie, and his 5 grandchildren. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marcia. Other moments of silence. I know that there was nothing in the paper yet, but on behalf of my colleagues, I'm sure we can recognize at the next meeting, but one of our former colleagues, Larry Martin, has also passed away. Not sure. I think the clerk is the only one in here that may have served with him. So I certainly didn't want to let this week go by. Oh, Council Kennedy. My apologies. So I thought it was important to recognize him as well, and then perhaps once the obituary is released in the paper next week, we can take opportunity to do that. Make sense? Okay. Will you all please rise for a moment of silence and darken chambers. May they rest in peace. First item on the agenda, we have a citation in keeping with recognizing new businesses in the city. I'd like to recognize Salon Tas as a new business in Lowell. Is Kelly here? You are? Well, maybe we should have taken the ROTC first, but I'm sure they would. They can escort you right to the front to the podium if you can make it, right? So we want to welcome you to City Hall. First, we want to welcome you to the city, and thank you for choosing the city to open up your salon. We like to recognize all of our new businesses in the city, and you are no exception. So on behalf of the city, we have a citation that we'd like to issue to you. Citation be hereby known to all that the city of Lowell in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we hereby welcome Salon Tas and its owner, Callie, as a new business to make its home at 151 Central Street. With personal attention to each customer's needs, the salon offers professional services close to home at affordable rates. With a convenient location and experienced staff, Salon Tas is a great addition to the downtown Lowell. As an experienced professional, owner Callie can be trusted to give her customers a beautiful new hairstyle and sound advice about their look. I like that. Open long hours and weekends, the salon will truly serve the needs of the community. The City of Lowell wishes the owner and business many years of success. The dedication to the community and the people of Lowell, we hope it will make a great business. The entire City of Lowell extends its deepest wishes to Salon Tas for success with your new business. Given on the 7th day of April by myself, Rodney M. Elliott, Mayor of the City of Lowell, along with all my colleagues here on the City Council. We thank you.
Thank you
and
so
we
much.
congratulate you.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah, right now we're actually offering $20 a month for unlimited tanning, and it's usually $39.95. And we have another tanning bed, $49.95, and another tanning bed, $59.95. But right now it's $20, so for the month of April. And then we can offer that, every time you come in. So that's something special that we're doing for this month. So I want to, thank you so much for offering, the City of Lowell and Salon Tas. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. We appreciate it. So, Councilor Leahy, don't be afraid to take advantage of this early special. They get working on your tan. So, moving on to the next recognition under the mayor's business, it is a proud honor to recognize the Lowell High School Air Force Junior ROTC program on your current achievement. You can see they have made the city well with all of that hardware. Welcome to City Hall. Congratulations. It is terrific. I'd like to ask Lieutenant Colonel D'Amico, Headmaster Martin is here. And welcome, Headmaster. Thank you. On short notice, as others in the paper said, we have to get these students in to recognize them in front of certainly the members of the City Council and the entire City of Lowell watching at home. So, everybody, you're on TV, so don't forget to right up here, both corners. So, Mr. Headmaster, thank you for making this happen in such a short time, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, Mr. Manager, and staff. We're very proud of our students and the instructors, and I'll introduce Lieutenant Colonel D'Amico to share all of the good news. Do a terrific job, but the real support and encouragement that comes from these teachers and instructors is shared by these students and families. They practice so hard. They're very, very special programs. Over 400 students in this program now at the high school, more females than males. We're very proud of that. But it's become a special program at the high school, and every other weekend they're coming back with more awards that make us more proud from the previous one. And I think this national championship says it all. So with that, I'll introduce Lieutenant Colonel Pete D'Amico. Pete.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, first of all, on behalf of Mr. Martin and the Air Force Junior ROTC program at Lowell High School, and specifically on behalf of our drill team, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come and for you to recognize the hard work that the kids do. I think I speak for all the instructors when I say you cannot find a better group of young men and women in the country. And I would put these young people up against anybody in the country, and I expect them to come on top. Whether it's drill, community involvement, academics, doesn't matter. They just excel at everything they do, and it comes from this city and from the high school experience that they get. As far as the drill team, they drill 3 to 5 times a week. At 6:45 in the morning, they practice in preparation for the season. Their season's about 4 months long, 4 to 5 months, so they compete locally in the New England Drill League, where they do quite well, and they've received a lot of accolades and trophies. Taking them down to the Air Force Nationals Capital Region Championships this year, we had high hopes, but we never expected them to bring back this kind of hardware. They got a trophy or a medal in all individual and team categories. They were first overall in the unarmed division. They were first overall in the armed division. Each one of those different teams garnered multiple first-place trophies for team competition. The individual, the dual teams both won first and second places, not just first or second, but first and second places in their respective exhibition categories. So without saying, this is just an impressive total for them. And like I said, and I'll just leave you with this, what we're most proud of as instructors is not the trophies that they win, but how they carry themselves, the professional manner in which they do it, how they accept victory and defeat as well. And again, that's a testament to how they're raised here in Lowell and what the high school opportunity brings to them and gives to them in their high school years, and they take advantage of it. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forgot to say this in my remarks. If you want to mark your calendar for May 28th, Lowell High School has a permit for the boarding house park by the boot mill, and we're going to do a Lowell High School showcase night and ask our drill to perform along with cheerleaders, our chorus, our dancers, so that the community get to see our kids, and we think it'll be a special night for everyone. So it's May 28th, a Thursday night. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you, Mr. Headmaster. We appreciate it. Anyone from the Corps want to say anything? Who's the wing leader? Stephanie, wing captain? Yes? Captains.
First of all, hi everyone. I know on behalf of myself and I know the entire drill team, we're out of words with the amount of support we got from everybody, City of Lowell, our instructors, Lowell High School. Thank you, Mr. Martin. It's just been amazing. We got back. Never expected this, honestly. It's been such a great thing. And like Danny and I, seniors, can't believe it. It's over, but we're going out with a bang. We're so happy.
And I also want to thank you guys for this recognition. I would have never thought we would be standing here in this room at the beginning of this school year, to be honest with you. Coming into Lowell High, I came in, joined the drill team my sophomore year, actually, and had no idea we had the potential to actually come out and win all this hardware, end up #1. So leaving my senior year, I just want to thank you guys for this recognition and thank my entire team for helping us, because it's a team. Nobody here can do something by themselves and win this. So thank you very much.
You are welcome. I can say on behalf of my colleagues, it's wonderful to see that you have brought home so many awards, but I can also say that at every event, day in and day out, the reward that we get and the reward that this community gets is how proud you make us when we see you on the street in your uniforms. We know what you represent, and I think that is as rewarding as all those awards that you have brought forward. So we look forward. Thank you, Mr. Headmaster, Lieutenant, and your staff. It's just a great program that's run in the city, and we appreciate it. But members of the council? Awesome. Counselor?
Well, I couldn't let this evening go by without telling these young men and women just how very, very proud we are. And when we look at our future and we look at you, I say we're in darn good shape. You make us so very proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any parting
Yeah.
words? Salute that. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Samaras?
No, I just want to say, as the former headmaster of Lowell High School, I'm jealous of the present headmaster of Lowell High School. Very much so. But always, the ROTC group was always a group in our school that worked very hard to make Lowell High School a better place. And you certainly have shown that today. And each year, you just seem to get better and better. We are very proud of you. We're proud of your accomplishments in such programs like that, like the competitions, but we're really more proud of what you do in the city and how you do at the high school. You are a terrific addition to Lowell High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll give you a final salute. Have a great night.
Yes, good for you, good for you.
Thank you guys again.
Okay, just the next item is just a communication. I'm going to give this my best shot. Is Isa Waldegiorgias here?
Good job, Mr. Mayor. Very good job.
How close was I?
Very close.
Yes?
Walter Georges.
Waldegiorgias. Boy, it
Yes.
sounds so much easier. Welcome. We know that you are the executive director of Hope and Healing, Center for Hope and Healing, and you'd like to speak about the 10th anniversary of the Take Back the Night event.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members. I'm joined this evening by Allison Tully, who's a volunteer with us at the Center for Hope and Healing. And I just have to say that we could not do the work we do 365 days a year, 24/7, without our fantastic and fabulous volunteers. So yes, we are sharing with you our 10th anniversary. The City of Lowell has committed with a multidisciplinary task force to delivering a Take Back the Night event every year. This year it is on Thursday, April 16th. We begin at City Hall at 6 p.m. And the group gathered, we are gathering folks from Greater Lowell, so it's expected more than 100 to 200 people usually attend. We're walking down to U Crossing, where we'll have Survivor open mic speakers at U Crossing. So we invite members of the council to join us at City Hall and at UMass Lowell. We are asking the council to also consider either proclamation or some sort of city recognition in honor of the 10th anniversary of Take Back the Night in Lowell. We also do during the day at Middlesex Community College in the morning at 9:30. We're doing an event called Take Back the Day in recognition that sexual assault, sexual violence doesn't just happen at night. It's not a stranger danger issue, someone jumping out of the bushes. It's about education. So we're doing an event in the morning that's about teens and technology. So how to keep your teens safe from internet dangers, particularly around sexting and those kinds of things. Middlesex Community College, 9:30, same day, Thursday, April 16th. Does anyone of the council have questions for us? Or Allison? Sure.
Thank you very much. We'll be happy to issue that proclamation, Lisa.
That would be great. Allison's just going to say one quick thing.
I'm just going to let you know a little bit of what we're looking for, too. As leaders of this community, we encourage you to share this event on social media with friends, family, and colleagues, along with helping us promote this 10th anniversary with the press. If you know anyone who's connected to the press, we'd be happy to connect with you. And
See this gentleman to my left?
oh, awesome.
You've just been connected, so we already took that one off our list.
Okay. We also have opportunities available for volunteers, peacekeepers, and other speakers if you yourself or anyone you know is interested. I know you're speaking there as well.
Item number 2, I'm out on the deck, so we got that.
Good job, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for your time this evening. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Anything that we can do, please let us know, and we're happy to support this night as we all do. And we thank you for all the work that you do as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we have, under City Clerk, we have the minutes of the City Council meeting of March 31st. We have minutes from the Neighborhood Subcommittee of March 31st as well for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Mercia, second by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are accepted and placed on file. Moving on to communications from the city manager, we have motion responses A, B, C, D, and E. Questions, discussion on motion responses. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. I appreciate the report that we received relative to the parking on the right-hand side of Broadway Street at the corner of Broadway and Dutton. I would like to, in the form of a motion, refer this back to the city manager's office in order to have an ordinance change drafted and brought back to the council, if I could put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rourke, to refer the parking response back to the city manager for to have an ordinance drawn up. Further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. We'll refer that to the city manager and the city solicitor for to draw up the proper ordinance. Other questions on motion responses? Councilor Belanger? Councilor Milonazo, are we all done? Yes. Yeah, okay. Councilor Belanger?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to respond to motion response C, quarterly drug overdose report. And I do want to commend the makers of the motion, Councilors Leahy and Councilors Rourke. Certainly, the requesting quarterly reports in regards to overdoses throughout the city. And from the attached report from Trinity Ambulance, which is very, very well detailed, it's certainly justified. The makers of the motion's request is certainly justified here. And what's staggering here is just the very first sentence, that the very first 3 months in 2015, we've had 230 overdoses within city limits. That's over 2.5 per day. So no doubt this is an epidemic. I see we have staff here from Trinity, and I'd like to call up Commissioner, through you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Frank Singleton, and how do we get a handle on a situation? We're all, when we want to talk about economic development, public safety, this issue was taken center stage for good reason. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Commissioner, just a brief update of how do we get a handle on this?
It's difficult. You were at the Gardner Auditorium along with myself last week, and you heard the testimony for several hours, which was pretty devastating about the impact of this epidemic. I was at an all-day meeting in Worcester with the State Health Department at DCU. It's actually escalating more each month. We've had over 230 deaths the first quarter of this year. Cape Cod, it's almost doubled. What has happened is a major switch to heroin. So the whole issue of prescription drugs, which is a major problem, which is sort of an entry to a lot of people becoming addicted, have now been sort of superseded by people directly going to heroin, which is dirt cheap, pure, and in some cases pure other drugs, such as the fentanyl, which is made commercially in Mexico and Colombia and not adulterated here in the street. It's actually coming in as, in some cases, pure fentanyl, which is extremely dangerous. Very small dosage can, we're finding people with a needle in the arm that never had a chance to even get high, they just died. So what the state said today, State Health Department and others present at this big public health meeting in Worcester, this epidemic is really, unfortunately, starting to accelerate. One of the things they're talking about is every public toilet in the state is becoming a shooting gallery in some cases. They've had done focus groups on, like Dunkin' Donuts keeps coming up all the time, as if someone is in there found unconscious because they were shooting up. The athletic issues have come up over and over again, that people are getting injured athletically, starting and often on prescription drugs, but then rapidly moving to heroin. So I hope we could get more of a handle on this, but clearly if this was any other type of like communicable disease or something, this would be a major initiative. The governor, as you know, at the Gardner was present and was talking about, was 250 million prescriptions are written every year in the United States. We use 90% of the world's opioids. What he didn't say at the conclusion of the listening session is what they're going to do about it from the budgetary point of view. And later on, we will talk about a Tewksbury proposal to try to double treatment capacity, but clearly what is missing is treatment. What is clearly missing is insurance companies paying appropriately for these types of things, and this is not going to go down. It's going to continue, based on what I was told today, go up until we have a major change in the way we're dealing with this disease. We can't arrest our way out of it. We have to start dealing with treatment. We have to deal with education in the schools. We have to really head this off. So Trinity can explain the details, which is actually real-time data for the first time for Lowell of actual, not just deaths a year later, which we've been doing since 2008, deaths from overdoses from opioids. We're actually now looking at actual overdoses occurring month by month, or we could even do it day by day or week by week. And it's pretty scary, but I'd rather defer to the Trinity people who prepared the data to actually explain what they're seeing on the street, because at the DA's meeting and we had recently at the Lowell General Hospital, you guys were saying to me, well, we pick them up. We didn't realize how bad it was, because we're dealing with the end result of an overdose that we're deploying an ambulance to. But there's so many other things
thank you, Frank. Could we have Trinity? They are here. He's right behind you. Could you provide that information, Mr. Chumley? Thank you for coming to the meeting. We appreciate it. We appreciate the information and the data that you've gathered to help us try to arrest this situation.
Well, if I can just address your consideration. This city is at the cutting edge of this problem. Since we have been here the last few weeks, we've got several other cities, Haverhill included, looking for this report that you have in front of you. Chelmsford is looking for this report that you have in front of you. This is a regional problem, and it started, as far as the actions to prevent what we're doing here, it started here in Lowell. And we want to thank you for bringing this, to light in the city. It's a definite problem. Lowell General Hospital did host a meeting in the Clark Auditorium with the state and at least 50 or 60 other people that were there trying to solve this problem. And we brought with us tonight, if you look at this report, we brought with us tonight clinical, IT, technical, and also operational personnel that might be able to answer any questions that you're looking for. Councilor Belanger, I don't know how we stop this, but we're starting in here in Lowell right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chumley. I know your company is right on it, and this is extremely well detailed report. I mean, it's fortunately bad news, but it's something we need to know. We need to know the facts on this, and we need help. Okay, as Commissioner Singleton was on hand, we were in Boston last week for an opiate conference with the governor and lieutenant governor. And the stories went on for hours, and it's city, and it's town, and it's rich, and it's poor. A woman came, Townsend, she had two 32-year-old twins from Townsend. One is passed from an overdose, one is on the street somewhere, she has no idea of his whereabouts. So that's just one example how bad this problem is, but we need help, okay? This city cannot be the solution. Now, all these overdoses, I'm willing to bet all these are not from the city of Lowell. However, they're our problem, and we need help. Okay, we can't differentiate where they come from, who they are. If they're in the city limits, they're our problem. But we need help. We need an outreach to the state on a state level saying we need beds on immediate needs. I mean, the administration is listening. They know this is an issue, and they put it on the front burner. But an immediate need that we have is the non-support of beds of people that are in need and need help right now, and we're not getting it. Instead, the police make an arrest. They have no chance but to put these individuals in jail rather than in beds because there's nowhere to put them. They're back on the street, often enough reverting to crime to pay for their addiction, and then they're back in jail. It's a vicious cycle. It's absorbing resources, public safety, all over the place. It's a dreaded problem. I don't have an answer, Mr. Mayor, my colleagues, but I know the strength in numbers, and we unite. We need to take this issue to the top. So I'm open for comments here, how we can address this, because being the gateway cities with the facilities, with the recovery homes, this is our problem. So how do we address it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there specific questions on this report for Mr. Chumley? I'm sure this will be an ongoing solution. I happen to agree. Mr. Chumley, did you?
Yes, if I could just address the bed situation. I had a meeting on March 17th with a company that is opening 14 beds in Haverhill. They are rehab beds, they are addictive beds, and they're a brand-new company. They have a few facilities across the Northeast, across other parts of the country, but they're opening in Haverhill. I understand it's only 14 beds, but we need to start somewhere. And I wish Tewksbury Hospital would come through with the state funding to handle what we need here, but this is at least a start, Councilor.
Yeah, I think it's a start. It's going to start right here tonight. There's a resolution on this, on the floor of the council to do just that. Send that down to the State House saying that we do need more beds. There's no silver bullet. It's a comprehensive approach. I think that task force and the district attorney working with the police and mental health institutions, it's something that we are on. And I got to tell you, myself and the manager met with the mayor of Waterbury, Connecticut, about an hour and 15 minutes outside of New York City. It's no different. He has the same number, almost like it's a community of similar size to Lowell, 110,000. The statistics are almost identical. It wasn't a revelation, but it was just a very interesting observation, and to know that we are not alone in this heroin problem. So, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that we are on a campaign here to try to do everything that we can, and I see that happening, where once we taught seniors in high school or high school kids, don't do drugs, this, that, it's a little bit too late in the high school. We're now going into the elementary grades, and we're speaking and informing the youngsters not to do this, that this is a bad thing. And then, so that is a start. Education is always helpful. But I extremely feel that we have to go to the source. I think we ought to create laws and enforce these laws to the dealers. The dealers are killing people. They're handing them out on a Sunday. Here, try this. Hooking people so that they got them in their clasp, and then they're going to kill them through the drugs. Just when we think we're doing the best we can, along comes Terry Downs with a beautiful proposal that we have on the agenda this evening, because I was at that meeting as well at Clark Auditorium, where we want to add 32 more beds on top of the 32 that are already there. And then we read in the paper where the state is going to do their budget and cut out the very source that we're trying to, bring up and make vibrant. It is so sad when you have people that are hooked on drugs and they're realizing they made a mistake and they're begging to get off and they need detoxification and they can't find a bed. That is horrendous. That is not the message we want to say. So we need more beds, like Councilor Belanger said. We need to have strict enforcement to get these slugs, these thugs and slugs off the street that are hooking our children on these horrific drugs. You got people as vibrant as State Rep Tom Golden that is going in the forefront to do everything he can to make the laws more stringent, to alert the hospitals that when you give drugs as a prescription, make sure you limit it. There's so many things that we can do, and I believe this city is doing everything we can, but we need to do more. We can't stop. It's like many years ago when we had people doing graffiti, and if we just let it go, they would overtake our city. But we were following right behind them, erasing it as quick as they violated and made all these graffiti marks. We went and erased it. We got to do the same diligent service with this opiate problem. We have to conquer it. We have to.
Exactly.
That's my feeling on
Madam
it.
Councilor, information is power.
Yes, it is.
And what we have in the city between the police and the fire and the EMS ambulance in the system, we have We have information. In front of you are heat maps. In front of you are days of the week, hours of the day, where the problems are and what time the problems are. What we do is we need to coordinate our assets during these certain times and during these certain areas where you see the yellow and the orange on the heat map. Those are times of the day where that's where the problem is. So we need to send our police assets and ambulance assets to those areas because we know that's where it's going to happen.
And perception is everything. If people are perceiving the fact if they're going to go out and sell drugs to innocent people, they're going to go to jail for a heck of a long time. No leniency, no ifs, ands, buts about it. I know what's happening all around the country. I don't live all around the country. I live in this city, and that's the rules, and these are the laws, and we should be strict on that. That's my feeling. I'm sorry I get emotional, but it's a killer. It's a killer.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on it? Did you have anything else, Mr. Shanley? No?
Unless someone else does.
Council Leahy.
I didn't really have any further questions, but I did want to just thank Trinity for the report. I think this was an important motion to have, that we get this quarterly report and that we stay on top of this. And like you said, it's going to take an effort by everybody. So
That's exactly right.
You know, educating and I know, you know, we try to educate through the grades and earlier, but even, you know, staying on top of this in the high school and even into the college years, because when you look at these average ages, they're in the 30s and high 30s. So and it affects everybody. So the more partners, the better. And hopefully we'll get more beds and just, you know, keep working on this together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Kennedy?
Yes, Mr. Shamley, if I could. Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Shamley, there's been a lot of discussion, and I think everybody recognizes that this is a big problem. And while we're waiting for the beds, there's probably not so much, or new laws, there's probably not so much that can be done immediately. But you did mention at the beginning of your remarks that you had several members of your staff here. So
yes, sir.
I just thought it would be worthwhile, and I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but is there any small thing or little things that the city could be doing that would, that your staff recognizes that, you know, sometimes people who are working on the front lines, as your staff is, they may say, well, geez, you know, if they would just do this, then, you know, maybe that would be not the whole solution, but maybe a little piece of the solution. Is there anything like that you people have come across or recognized that would be, that you'd want to share this evening? Or?
Great question. And I don't want to put Kirk on the spot, but it's Kirk Brigham. He's our he's our clinical coordinator and head of our ALS department. He does all our clinical stuff. So I'm thinking maybe your question is a clinical one rather than an IT one. So, Kirk?
Well, I think some of the programs that are out there reinforcing the nasal Narcan program for first responders is a good first step. And also sharing the data like we've been doing is, I think that's the second step that we've made in making it more relevant, sharing that data real time. Maybe going to a more frequency of a report and working along with the Board of Health. Those steps definitely will turn the tides, as you said.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Malinowski?
Thank you. If I could just, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to make a comment about the fact that we are paying attention to this issue and I don't know if it's appropriate, but to congratulate and recognize the Public Safety Subcommittee chaired by Councilor Rourke, because again, as I look at this report, and there are 116 opiate overdoses during the first quarter of 2015. That's 1.3 per day. Of those, 47 received Narcan. And if it wasn't for the leadership of the Public Safety Subcommittee bringing that to the City Council, where we voted to make sure that it was available through EMS and the fire department and so on, and 41 of those 47 that when it was used actually showed improvement. And again, through votes of this council, we may have saved someone's daughter or saved someone's son. So I think it's just so important, as Mr. Chumley said, information is power, it's powerful. I think kudos to the Public Safety Subcommittee and this council as a whole and this administration for keeping us focused on this problem. Because as Councilor Belanger said, it's not just our problem, it is a problem throughout the country, really. and it's something that we're going to stay on top of through the Public Safety Subcommittee. I look forward to getting this report from Trinity on a quarterly basis, but I think the information is very powerful, and I think that as we go forward and we take this vote tonight on the resolution and make sure that we do have the beds in place, the laws in place to help us through this problem. So I just thought it was important to recognize the fact that this council really probably saved, like I said, someone's daughter or someone's son just by that vote of making sure that Narcan was out on the street, and as this gentleman said, on the front lines, making a difference. So thank you. Thank you to all involved.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Chumley. Thank you, Mr. Seppi. Thank you, Mr. Singleton. We appreciate it. Before we accept that as a report of progress, along with the other motion responses, are there other questions on motion responses? Questions? Going once? Entertain a motion to accept the other responses as reports of progress and place on file by Council Samaras, second by Council Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion passes. Moving on to the next item, we still have another communication from the city manager, request for out-of-state travel for one individual from Division of Planning and Development. Entertain a motion to approve by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Leahy. Discussion on this item? Roll call.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we have a communication. This is from the city manager to appoint Thomas B. Conter, Board of Parks. Dear Mayor Elliott, members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority specified in the Mass General Laws, Chapter 45, Section 2 of the Code of the City of Lowell, Article 6, Section 9-20, it's a pleasure I'm appointing Thomas B. Conter of 26 Clifton Street, Lowell, Mass. 01852, as a member of the Lowell Board of Parks to fill unexpired term of Patrick Sheridan, which expires May 11, 2019, or a time thereafter, as a successor is appointed. Confirmation by the City Council is required for this appointment and is hereby requested. I have attached his resume for your review. Motion to approve by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Discussion on this? Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy. Yes. Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, Mr. Manager.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I've known Tom Counter for many years. He's been a long-time umpire, called me out on a few strike threes in his career, but he knows full well the necessity of tip-top parks, and I'm proud to appoint him to this position. Tom, could you just come up and introduce yourself to the council?
Tom, did he argue the strike calls?
No, he didn't argue too much. Good evening, Mayor Elliott, City Manager Murphy, Councilor. I just want to thank everybody for, appointing me to the park, the boards, the parks and everything. Like Mr. Martin said to me earlier tonight here, he says, you've been around the parks for a long time, and I don't want to tell you how long I've been around the park, but, he says, about time you volunteered. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and when I heard there was an opening, I said to my wife, I says, I think I'll take a chance and submit my resume. I don't know what's going to happen. And I received a phone call yesterday morning from Mr. Murphy, Manager Murphy here, and I was very proud that I got this, and I want to thank you all for appointing me.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Hold on, Tom. Councilor Martin?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to thank Mr. Counter for agreeing to serve. And as Manager Murphy said, he's well known around the parks here in the city, but I think he's best known as the coach of the undefeated 1978 Sacred Heart CYO basketball team. So.
Oh, yeah?
I'm curious who may have played on that team.
I'll just make one little statement. Back in 1978,
Councilor Martin, you may regret to make that.
No, I don't think it's going to be good. Back in 1978, I coached the Sacred Heart CYO basketball team. We were undefeated. if I remember correctly, I think we made it to the semifinals in the States and everything, and back then I knew Mr. Martin was going to be a politician because every time before the games I had to go look for him because he was always had the lowest son, and I think he was reading a column back then trying to get some tips to become a counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Counter. Further discussion, any other stories that we want to bring up here? Okay, motion carried. Move on to the next item of voting, right? Next item, we have another communication from 3.4, communication to accept the resignation of Alicia Lynch from the Conservation Commission. Motion to accept that resignation by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. We have another communication to accept the resignation of Matthew Gordon as well from the Conservation Commission, and entertain a motion to accept that resignation and place on file by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Mr. Manager, if you could also send letters of thanks to both of these individuals for their service to the city. I'm sure the council would appreciate it. Moving on to votes from the city manager, we have a vote to authorize the endorsement of the 2016 capital budget. Mr. Manager, do you and your staff have a presentation?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
That's the first reading. Why don't we'll go into the second reading. It requires 3 readings. I'll entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Council Leahy, second by Council Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Second reading will be by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the endorsement of the fiscal year plan for the 2016 proposed capital budget. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. This is the first capital plan that I will be presenting to the City Council in my administration. I want to thank my financial team and Moran Fernandez and Mike McGovern for the preparation. I think we had a nice packet in the council packet for you that explains in full our proposed capital plan. But by way of brief summary, I'd like to just present what we plan to do. And if you, first of all, the slide that is showing right now would be page 28 of the packet that was given to you previously. I'm asking that the council authorize us to borrow $9.4 million. But when we leverage that $9.4 million with city, state, federal, and private grants, we're actually going to be doing $16.6 million worth of capital improvements in this plan. By way of illustration, you'll see that we're going to repair and/or replace the Lawrence Street Bridge that has been in dire need of work for years. We've had several accidents there, including a fatality, so it's imperative that we take care of the Lawrence Street Bridge. The 3 pillars of my administration has been public safety, education, and economic development. Part of that economic development is what we've always called curb appeal, and that's making sure that our city streets and sidewalks look presentable. So as part of this capital plan, we're going to spend over $4 million on curb appeal. We're going to complete the Bridge Street node. This is going to extend the Riverwalk from where it ends right now behind the Boot Mill complex all the way to Bridge Street. The Concord River Greenway, which has been under construction for years, this is the final phase of the Concord River Greenway, and it will be a wonderful opportunity to complete that greenway for people to enjoy Mother Nature in the heart of the city of Lowell. We're working on traffic signalization, school improvements, fire department turnout gear. We're going to purchase a shot detection software program. We're going to make repairs to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. We're going to do remediation at the Hamilton Canal area through an EPA grant that will allow us to further develop the Hamilton Canal area. And we're going to purchase much-needed vehicles that have fallen into disrepair, and we're going to purchase a new pumper for the fire department that is in desperate need. But there is one vehicle I want to point out. I think it's probably one of the cheapest vehicles we're purchasing, but I think it's one of the most important signals from this city council to the residents of the city of Lowell. As you know, the vacuum trucks that go around and clean downtown Lowell, we have them in downtown Lowell. What we're going to do is we're going to purchase an additional vacuum truck, and we're going to concentrate and dedicate that vacuum to the business corridors across the city of Lowell. So now we will be sweeping on a weekly basis Lower Bridge Street, Couple Square, Rogers Street, Mammoth Road, and all of the other neighborhood corridors, business corridors in the city. So we're going to be working on curb appeal across the city of Lowell, and I'm very proud of that purchase, and I think it's a great signal of this city council to concentrate on the businesses citywide, and so that's part of our purchases. If you go to the next slide, which is page 29 of your presentation, you can see that we're at the top of the page, we're showing the program expenditures for a total of almost $6 million, which is made up of infrastructure, public safety, community maintenance and development, and department vehicles. And how are we going to pay for that $16.6 million in capital improvements? Well, first of all, this council was incredibly wise just recently to establish a capital debt service stabilization fund with the free cash that we had from last year's budget. And that $450,000 is going to allow us to jumpstart this capital plan right now. We can start repairing streets and sidewalks with that $450,000 while we borrow this money. You can see from the state we received a Parks grant for $950,000. From the EPA, a Brownfield grant for $400,000. Chapter 90 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, $2.8 million. A Massachusetts Cultural Council grant of $300,000, which we're going to match and make repairs to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. One of the best partners in the city of Lowell, I think that sometimes goes unnoticed, is the National Park Service. The National Park Service is giving us $2.4 million, which is going to allow us to complete that Bridge Street node. We have a private funding from MACON. MACON wants to make sure that the park up in the area of their building will be improved, and they've donated $13,000 to our match to improve Durkin Park. And then, of course, the bond proceeds of $8.9 million total $16.6 million. So we have the ability to pay. We can afford this capital plan, and more importantly, we can't afford not to do this capital plan. We need to make improvements to the infrastructure of our city. We need to make the city more safe by further providing equipment and tools to the police and the fire department. And we need to upgrade our vehicles. They've grown in great disrepair. They're actually costing more to maintain than to purchase new vehicles in replacement. So I think it's a great capital plan. Again, I congratulate Connor Baldwin, Bob Healy, Rodney Conley, Moran Fernandez, and Mike McGovern for putting together this great presentation that has taken actually months to prepare. And most importantly, I want to thank my department heads. In my quest to empower department heads, we allotted a certain amount of money to each department head and said to them, you come back with your recommendations. You tell us what your priorities are. And they did come back with those priorities, and we took those priorities and incorporated them into this capital plan. So the wisdom and the knowledge of the department heads is really what makes this capital plan so well. And so I ask for your support in endorsing this capital plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Questions on this? We'll start with Councilor Mercier, then we go Councilor Belanger, Councilor Leahy.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Looking over this book booklet, well, not this very one, but the one that we had in our packet, you could see the different areas of, of need. And I think you took from that, or the team that you had putting it together, took from that what was most important. And not that everything isn't important, and we could spend a heck of a lot more looking at it. But there's something in this report that said, doing nothing is simply not an option. To me, that's true. My philosophy is we must maintain that which we own. We have to do things like this every now and then. And then it goes on to say, we have a need in the city that are compromising our ability to perform other basic functions. These are key words to me, and I tell the people that are watching, this is what makes me support a proposal. These are the things that I firmly believe. That's why I see this, and I know that we could do nothing and have people, struggle and equipment break down and things fall apart. So I'm very pleased at seeing that it was rather thrifty. I know that you could have did a lot more, but I think it's compact in that you addressed the most need here, and I think I endure it. I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger, then Councilor Leahy, then Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with my colleague, Councilor Mercia, that doing nothing is simply not an option here. These are great improvements that benefit that are beneficial citywide, not just in one neighborhood, but in all four corners of the city, Mr. Manager, and I commend you for that. Now, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, now on paving, sidewalks, and curbing, Mr. Manager, we're appropriating about $1.4 million. Can you elaborate there, where and what improvements that's going to go to?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, it's 1.4 of the bond proceeds that will go towards the paving. That, coupled with the Chapter 90 money, is going to bring it up over $4 million. Well, we have a list of priority streets and sidewalks that need repair that has been established, and what we're going to do is we're going to work right on that priority list and take them apart one by one and cure the ills that are in those streets and sidewalks.
Oh, so you'll take the worst ones first, obviously,
Correct.
by case. Okay, I'm in agreement with that. Thank you. Now, secondly, the public safety shot detection system, is this shot spotter that we all were talking about through months ago?
No, this is a much more advanced shot detection. This actually has a camera on it. The demonstration was spectacular, is that it actually was used, it's developed obviously by the Army. It was used in Afghanistan on like the tanks. And in the demonstration is that if somebody shot it at the tank, that camera would turn and it would spot that perpetrator within 0.7 seconds of the shot occurring. And it's just incredible, and that's what we wanted. We wanted not just a spot detection, but we wanted a camera so that it would turn towards where the shot came from and hopefully either get a picture of the perpetrator, a picture of the car, hopefully the license plate, so that then we could identify that perpetrator and arrest them.
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Manager, that is, in my opinion, a very, very worthwhile expenditure with taxpayer money. It really is. Will go to good use. We all know last year was not a good year. There's too many guns in the street, number one, and that's a problem that this council cannot control. It's more state level, that something needs to happen there. But this will help curb this. I truly believe that this will help this city very, very much. And I commend all these improvements, but those two really stood out to me. And Mr. Manager, I commend you. And it's a big city, and it's an old city, and it's a lot of maintenance. It's a lot of money to maintain. But I think you spread it out nicely here on all four quarters in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leahy, Councilor Kennedy.
Sure, thank you. Through you to the manager. I like the plan. I talked to Mr. Baldwin today about, I had some concerns. so I'll start with the streets. It seems like a good chunk of money going to the roads, but, so aside the Chapter 90 money, how much money will we have for, like, there's certain streets that we want to just pave, but we don't really want to go through the whole, setting all the curbs and taking trees out but, you know, it's not always necessary to do that, but some of the streets do need to be repaved. So how much money will we have for doing our own streets that we don't have to use Chapter 90 money for? Because it's my understanding, if we use Chapter 90, we do have to set the curbs, right? We have to go the whole 9 yards?
Well, we can only use Chapter 90 on accepted streets, so that's what, but we'll have approximately $1.4 million of our own money to use for the streets that we want, that don't have to comply with the Chapter 90 regulations. So
Okay.
1.4 million.
All right. And I would like to see that increased if we could, if there's any savings anywhere, because it's been our priority for the last few years that we try to really catch up on the roads. And some of the streets don't need to all be done over, so I'm sure we're looking at, for example, some roads just need that 20 feet done where they meet up to the next intersection. So I'm sure we could probably eliminate a lot of those problems areas if we can look at that and just try to take care of the problem sections too without doing the whole road. That would go a long way too, just, you know, with the upkeep of the streets. And so I had a couple of questions about the spot shotter. So that's a totally different, I don't know if you call it a product, I guess. So, all right, I'm happy to see that, because at first I thought we were still trying to get federal money for that, for the other one, but this is a whole different product, so that's good. I did have one.
Well, it's not, it's the more enhanced version. The demonstration that was brought forward was just an audio. This is the video as well. So we're not just, you know, and it makes, to me, it makes sense, because I went to the demonstration. If we're going to proceed with this, capturing the video image according to the police officer is going to be much more valuable than just getting the signal and sending officers here. So, and it's the same principle, same process, just if we're going to go this route, let's make it effective and get those pictures.
Sure, yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, much more bang for our buck.
Can I just go to the streets for a second, Councilor? Mr. Manager, Westford Street has undergone installation of utility lines. Are they repaving that entire street needs to be repaved? Is that part of that construction project?
Westford Street is number one.
I mean, is the utility company repaving?
No,
Because
we are. We're repaving it.
I have to tell you, that's a travesty. What they, you know, they put the utility in, and for the city to have to go and repave that.
I agree with you. I drive that street all the time, and it's deplorable, but that's, you know, National Grid is responsible for just doing the patchwork on it, but then we have to pave the street, and that's number one priority is Westford Street. It should begin around May 1st, I think, would be the best estimate of time when it'll begin.
I don't mean to get off subject, but Madam Solicitor, is there some condition we can put in when they ask to open the road that the condition of that street is put back in the same condition that it was before it was opened?
There are currently requirements that occur. On this case, I can certainly confer with the city engineer and prepare a report for the manager.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Councilor Leahy.
No, that's a good point, because some of the streets, you know, Fairmont Street, Belmont Street, you know, they're torn up by the utilities, and they don't go back to the same condition that they were, and then we end up paying the expense of repaving them, so.
I mean, Varnum Ave, they put in a utility with the water
Yeah.
construction project, and that area will be repaved
Right.
by that project.
Yeah. Just one other comment on vehicle purchases. So I had asked Mr. Baldwin, there seemed to be, it looked like same type of vehicle, different departments had different pricing, but there could be different needs, I guess, for one department to the other, so you're not buying the same, say, van or truck or whatever. But I didn't know if there's any way, or if other communities are doing this, if there's not a need to have a brand-new vehicle, might it be, could we look into purchasing some pre-owned vehicles? Maybe not anything older than, say, 2 years and not any more than 20,000 miles, but that might save us some money, where we could put the savings into bigger equipment, where we're trying to replace, say, fire trucks down the road and bigger, more expensive equipment. Maybe, we might find a better way of purchasing the vehicles that we just use every day. So if you could check into that, it may work, it may not, but just would be a comment to try to save us some money on purchasing vehicles for whatever department. And I know every department's different, but it's still worth a shot. And other than that, I like the presentation, and thank you for putting it together. It's very, it's got a lot of information, and it looks like we're well on our way. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lee. Council Kennedy, then we'll go to Council Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, the Councilor Leahy's suggestion that we look at pre-owned vehicles, that sounds like a good idea to me. I can imagine that if we were to purchase a large number of vehicles, that would be a substantial savings that could then be dedicated to something else. And for vehicles that are used on a maybe 24-hour basis or everyday ongoing basis that we're going to run into the ground anyways, it maybe makes more sense to go with a pre-owned vehicle than a brand new one. But can we go to the shot detection software? My understanding was that was going to be we were going to do that through a federal grant. Is that changed?
The understanding was, through you, Mr. Mayor, we sought federal grants and state grants, and there were none available to fund that type of program. So the police department did look into both state and federal grants, but was unsuccessful in securing them. So we thought that it was important enough that we do fund it somehow, so we included it in the capital plan.
Okay, and with this, for this amount of money, would the shot detection software be citywide, or would it just target certain neighborhoods within the city? I mean, we have 14 square miles, so.
No, it would be approximately 3 miles, I believe. Yeah,
Council, I
3
believe
miles.
they focus on the hot spots, meaning they're not going to put
That
one
was
out.
that's my question.
Right.
So out of the 14 square miles, we will focus on 3 square miles that we or the police department's identified as hotspots.
Correct.
Okay, and so the $500,000 that's in this budget is just for purchase of the software.
No, it's for the purchase of the software and the operation of it for 3 years.
3 years.
And the hardware and everything. So the $500,000 includes the purchase and operation for 3 years.
Okay, and do we have an estimate of what the cost would be beyond that after the 3 years expires? Do we know how much that is?
My memory was somewhere of about $150,000 a year.
Okay. All right, and do we have a list of the streets that are going to be done?
I don't have them, but not here, but I could get them for you.
I don't think they've been, Mr. Mayor, they've not been identified yet, and they will change, they will rotate when some areas are not hot anymore. Chairman of Public Safety, do you have more of an update on that?
Well, can I just, I'm not quite finished with, I'm on streets now. I'm away from the hot shot, the shot detection program.
Oh, okay, I thought you were trying to identify the streets from the hot shot, right? Am I?
No, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I apologize. I think the manager was thinking that too, you know?
Is that what you thought too? Okay. Do we have a list of the streets that are going to be paved?
Yes, we do.
Okay, is that in here?
No.
Okay.
That's been provided to you before. I can provide it again.
Okay. So what is included is a list of the streets from last year's capital budget that are going to be done for this year.
Will be completed in this year. And my understanding, yes, will be completed if they haven't been completed already.
Okay.
But I can provide you with our priority list for paving in the future.
Okay, so should we anticipate that most of the streets that would be for this year, that would be funded with this capital budget, that they will be actually paved a year from now?
During the course of that year, yes.
Okay, so nothing would be done this year. What we're focused on this year is last year's streets.
Oh, no, the streets we listed in this presentation
Yes.
have already been completed with previous capital plan money.
They've been funded with previous capital fund money, but...
And work has been done on them.
Okay. I thought that I read just a second ago that they were going to be done during 2015.
Yes, they will, if there's more work to be done, it will be completed, but my understanding is most of those streets have already been paved with the last capital plan money. The money that we're proposing in this capital plan will be concentrating on the list of streets that I will present to you again, that it constitutes our priority list.
Okay. So it reads, below is a list of the paving estimates that will be completed in 2015.
Yeah.
And there's about 15 streets that are all in one neighborhood.
Right.
And so what you're saying is part of those have already been paved?
My understanding is probably most of them have.
Most of them have, okay. And so then what would be done this summer will be the streets that we're voting on that's in this capital project, and then we'll finish those up next year? Is that how it will go?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Because we have a list of priority streets above and beyond those.
Okay.
Those have already been taken care of. We have another list of streets I will provide to you again that will be dealt with this capital plan money.
Okay. It doesn't say those have been taken care of.
I know, but I know it doesn't say that, but they have been.
Okay.
All set, Council? We got Council Rourke, then Council Smaris, then Council Martin.
I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I looked at the capital plan, and I see quality of life improvements, public safety improvements with our fire and police, economic development. I think everything is in there. And what I appreciate about it, Mr. Manager, is a proactive approach that you and your team have taken with this. I will support it, and endorse it as well. Any questions that someone may have with regard to the public safety aspect of it, I'm more than happy to answer. But I think that you put every thing in the capital plan that we hear of all the time through constituents or phone calls or emails. So I think it's well done, and I do plan to support it. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Rourke, Council Smaris, then Council Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. And I join Councilor Rourke. I think this is a good outline, a good budget, and a very good beginning for this year. Questions that I have that I think were good for the public. One of them, you brought up the importance of the stabilization fund and how important that was for startups. But could you also speak to the public about how it can save money, whether Colin Baldwin or yourself?
Mr. Manager, or Mr. Baldwin?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councilor. So typically, when we authorize the funding, we would need to issue short-term notes to get started on the work, which we would incur borrowing costs, financial advisor fees, interest charges. By using the cash that we have available that the council appropriated in the debt service stabilization fund, we can avoid incurring those additional fees, so that essentially there's a cost savings. And when we go to permanently finance the money, most likely next fall, we'll have totally avoided several $1,000s in charges that would be associated with those short-term borrowings.
I think that's important for people to know that. That's how you're thinking about this budget. And another aspect, you talked about and showed how by leveraging funds with state and federal funds, you've increased your purchasing power or your ability to do what is necessary. What would happen if we were to say we want to cut, to save money, we cut something out of the budget? Would we be allowed to come back and receive that support from the state or federal government, or do we lose it?
Thank you, Mr. For some of the funding, we would lose it. For example, the Lowell Memorial Auditorium repairs requires a matching grant to get the grant from the state, we have to match that money. So if we don't match that money, we won't get it from the state, so we wouldn't be able to do the repairs to the Memorial Auditorium. So also with the Concord River Greenway, If we don't complete that within a certain period of time, then the money reverts to the state. So we wouldn't be able to get these projects completed without this authorization for those particular
You
ones.
understand why I'm asking these questions? Because I think this is something the general public is not aware of, but it shows the thinking that goes into this budget. In regard to the cars, and some good suggestions have been made about the purchasing of automobiles, and the costs are constantly going up. But have you, as the city manager, worked or thinking about developing a plan to regionalize the purchasing? I mean, is that out there? Is that a possibility that, I mean, I just think if you're talking about buying 10 new cruisers versus 100 new cruisers, I think there could be a great savings there. I mean, it's a constant talk. We've talked about 911. A lot of these things are off, require a lot of planning, but I think it's our future.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in addition to some of the ideas that have been proposed here tonight by the council for cost-saving measures, we're always evaluating regionalization opportunities to combine our purchasing power with our regional neighbors. You mentioned the Regional 911, which is an ongoing effort of the city and its surrounding communities. Regional procurement is also a pursuit that we are investigating and has been ongoing. It was a big initiative of the prior governor's administration. It's something that we continue to pursue and hope to be able to utilize very soon. It would allow us to combine with other communities to save in purchasing and get the best price available.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Thank you. No question.
So, Council Martin.
Thank you. To follow up on, I think, a lot of what's been said, but I do think it's worth repeating that, to me, one of the good parts of this plan is the way it capitalizes on the use of matching funds. So I appreciate the thought that's gone into it and the way to leverage state and federal resources. So, I do think there's a pretty good mix here across departments. So obviously there's been some considerable thought and effort given into what the priority needs are. And I think you've come up with a pretty good balance here. So I too am going to approve this. And to repeat another theme, I think the thing I'm concerned about are the vehicles. I think it's not that long ago where we never used to bond for at least ordinary vehicles. I mean, you bond for a fire truck and things like that. But just as sort of replacement day-to-day vehicles is something that we've only done fairly recently. And I don't dispute the need that some of these vehicles need to be replaced. I mean, I looked down the list. There's a 1999 Ford Crown Vic, which is not all that different from the car I drive. But the replacement car is a $40,000 SUV. I mean, does anybody drive a car anymore around here? I mean, it just seems like, and the replacement vehicles are, upgrades to Cadillacs almost. And especially if we're bonding those. I mean, for example, there's no police cars in this plan. I assume because we put those in the operating budget every year because, they wear out fast and they need to be replaced. And I think that's where they should be. And if the fire department, we're only going to replace these things every 15 years, then, maybe that does justify it being in a capital plan. But I really do think, we should give some thought to the types of replacement vehicles that we're putting in here. So I know that the council has made those suggestions, so I just offer, I support those sentiments. But overall, I do think it's a pretty good plan. And the thing that might be interesting to see for the future, just by way of comment, is, how much of the, the interest cost, the carrying cost of this plan every year get allocated out over departments. I mean, we do that already for the enterprise funds, but, it might be interesting to see, if, for example, a department head's budget was going to have to account for their share of the interest on the plan They might have different priorities. You know, I mean, if it's just sort of all dumped back on the city, it's just, you know, a big wish list. But if I had to also justify my capital plan every year and come up with my interest on that out of my own budget, you know, then maybe, you know, this thing is not so necessary. I'd rather have another position than this piece of equipment, or vice versa. So, anyway, I do think the people that have worked on this, it's a very good plan. It's invested in the city. It capitalizes on other resources. So I plan to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Milonazo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too will support the proposal before us this evening. I want to commend the finance team for putting together what is really a sound capital plan going forward. And I think it's important to note and let the viewing audience know that the city can afford this borrowing. Based upon the assumptions going forward, there's room in the debt service to pay for this, and there's also, with these well-thought-out 4 areas of program expenditures, we're actually taking some pressure off the operating budget as I see it. So this is something I'm going to support. My colleagues have really touched upon the various aspects of the entire capital plan, but it's a sound plan, and one that I'm hoping we'll be able to expand on going forward by, again, leveraging additional state and federal dollars as you continue to move through the next few fiscal years to continue to make sure that our infrastructure, our public safety, our community maintenance, and economic development projects are moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on this? Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. If I could, just to get back to regionalization a little bit, I think that the North Middlesex Council of Governments does some regionalization of services. Weights and Measures comes to mind, but I'm sure they would be interested in doing it for procurement, and probably would be interested in doing it on a much wider scope than what they do now. So that would be one vehicle that you could probably look at if we were going to look at saving money through regionalization. And then, as I'm sure you know, I think that there's a lot of bids that the state puts out, right, that we take advantage of, I'm sure, right? But those are 2 things. But just once again, that Council of Governments is an entity that probably is underutilized by the city, and we could probably be doing a lot more with them than what we're doing.
Further discussion on this? Roll call.
Need a motion.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Move approve.
By Councilor Rourke, second by Councilor Samaras. Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yep.
Councilor
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion passes. Plan is approved. Moving on to the next item, we're on 4.2. It's a vote. It's to approve a license agreement for an overhanging sign. This requires 2 readings. It's an overhanging sign for the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, Incorporated, 131 Merrimack Street. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Council Milonazo, second by Council Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title. Excuse me, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council's a vote authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce Incorporated to encroach upon the City of Lowell property at 131 Merrimack Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Entertain a motion to approve by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. Discussion on this item? Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Next item is another vote. This is for an easement sewer access agreement on Decatur and Salem Street for University of Massachusetts. This document as well is pretty lengthy. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. Second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council is a vote to authorize the city manager to execute a memorandum of agreement and drainage and access agreement access easement between the city, University of Massachusetts Building Authority, acting by and through the University of Massachusetts at Lowell, and the city of Lowell, located within a certain parcel of land located on 231 Salem Street in the city of Lowell. Discussion? Motion to approve by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Roll call.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion passes. Moving on to next section of the agenda, we have orders from the city manager. The first is a loan order and transfer various capital improvements. This will give the first reading. That is the first reading. Entertain a motion to refer this to a public hearing on April 21st, 2015 at 7 p.m. by Council Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. We'll set a public hearing for April 21st. Next item, next section, section 661, ordinance from the city manager. It's an ordinance to establish a Veterans Commission. That is the first reading. This also has to go to a public hearing scheduled for April 21st, 2:15 at 7 p.m.
Mayor,
But beforehand, Councilor Kennedy.
if I could, there's been a request from several of the veterans organizations that the matter be referred to the city manager for additional discussion before it goes to a public hearing. So I would offer that motion now.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger to refer this to the city manager. Mr. Manager, do you suspect you'll be able to meet beforehand? Councilor, I've not heard from any of the veterans, and I filed this motion. Is it a significant change that would warrant a change to any advertisement that you know of, or is it minor?
My understanding is that there's several small things rather than one big thing, but it would seem to me that it probably would be prudent to just have the manager meet with those groups first and then go forward with it. I mean, I don't know that there's an urgency about this, other than maybe some people would like to have it done by Memorial Day, but...
I don't think there's an urgency. Just seems like we can proceed with sending this to a public hearing in 2 weeks' time, knowing that the city manager presumably will meet with them. The motion was filed a number of months ago, and it would be nice to have it in place before
I suppose there'd
Memorial
be
Day.
no objection to that, Mr. Mayor. At the conclusion of the public hearing, if there are still matters to be worked out, I suppose
Yeah,
it
we
could
could always just
delay
delay.
action at that time,
Yeah,
so
good point.
that'd be fine.
Mr. Manager?
I haven't been contacted by anybody, but could you, is it the Veterans Council that has the questions, or who should I be
I
meeting
think
with?
several members of the city council have been contacted, and I think what they asked for was that it be sent to a city council subcommittee. However, there doesn't really seem to be a city council subcommittee that would be appropriate for the subject matter. And so I think that the second thing would be to have you sit down with the several members of the veterans groups and just sort of see what it is that they would like to change.
That was just which veterans group? Is it the Veterans Council? Is it is it the VFW, Post 662? There was just there's a lot of different veterans organizations. I just want to make sure I'm inviting the ones who have the concerns.
Let me get back to you on that, but let's just leave the motion at several veterans groups. It's probably just a good idea to invite them all anyway, so.
Okay, we have, when you're done, sorry. Council Samaras, all set, Councilor? I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Samaras, and then Councilor Belanger.
No, thank you, Mayor Elliott. I too have heard from several members of the Veterans Council and all they're asking for is some input into it. It's not that there are major concerns, but they really feel that they can enlighten, both sides can be enlightened by suggestions that they might have. They're in agreement with the process because I remember when Mayor Elliott made that motion, I supported that motion. It's the right direction to go in, in the thinking, especially dealing with veterans coming back from Iraq and Iran and things like that. So I would, or Afghanistan. So I would support delay, if we don't have to delay this, at least ensure that we have time to meet with some of the veterans to discuss what their issues are and then continue on.
Yeah, Council, I fully agree. We want all the veterans on board, and this is cutting edge type of organization. In fact, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs is at the state level, is very interested in this. So and I'm sure the managers, we are happy to engage with any member of the any veterans. I just have not received any communications, so we're happy to do so. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for the motion. And I think the veterans organizations are thankful as well. And for the most part, I think they're in support of this, but they just need a little clarification.
Absolutely.
I think, and it's not asking too much by no means. So, Mr. Manager, thank you for giving the time to them. But I would advise contacting Mr. Bob Page of the Greater Lowell Veterans Council. He seems to be the contact person to this. I think from there, everything will come into place. And I think this will all work out for the better. Thank you very much.
No, I think it's a good motion. Councilman
Yes,
Lorenzo?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was contacted by a couple of veterans organizations, and I think that they were just looking for some additional time to meet with the city manager. I think, in fact, a couple of them did say to me that what they read in the ordinance that they support, they just wanted to get some clarification, I think, as a couple of my colleagues have stated. So I'd be happy to also share with you, Mr. Manager, the organizations that contacted me. And I think overall, I know the mayor's been supporting this. I think it's something that they'd like to get done, but they just want, I guess, one more meeting with the manager. Thank you.
I mean, if there was a subcommittee in place, we could send it right off and have them meet, but.
Well, it was suggested actually that it go to the Arts and Culture, but the more I thought of it as the chair of the Arts and Culture, I would have been more than happy to look at it, but I just felt that it probably made sense to go to the city manager.
Mr. Manager?
I think it's important to note, though, that I did meet with a number of veterans before establishing this, and with the Eric Lamage and other members of the veterans, but we'll have another meeting with whoever has some questions about it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to refer this to the city manager, and at the same time, send it to a public hearing on April 21st. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion passes. Off to the city manager. Moving on to the next item under resolutions from the city manager. We have a resolution to support the effort to increase services at Tewksbury State Hospital. If it's okay, this one's, well, it's not that lengthy. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to be recorded in support of efforts to increase the current level of services at Tewksbury State Hospital. The City Council fully supports the effort to increase the current level of services at Tewksbury State Hospital, in particular those services aimed at drug and alcohol-related programs. Such efforts would be in the form of a two-step approach as outlined more fully below. As part of this resolution, the City Council would request assistance from the state delegation in meeting the following goals: add an additional 32-bed drug and alcohol detoxification unit at the Tewksbury State Treatment Center located at Tewksbury State Hospital, and that the additional bed open for patients by the end of the calendar year 2015, and further, to create a panel of experts, including but not limited to medical, public health, finance, hospital, public safety officials, and a member of the Board of Trustees of the Tewksbury State Hospital to examine the desirability of planning and construction at Tewksbury State Hospital of a 150-bed, modern, comprehensive drug and alcohol abuse detox and rehab center, including a consortium of follow-on and associated step-down services necessary to fully and comprehensively treat addicted patients, and that once convened, the panel issue a report within a period of 18 months. Be it here resolved by the City Council of the City of Lowell that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, wish to be recorded in support of efforts to increase the current level of services at Tewksbury State Hospital, in particular those services aimed at drug and alcohol-related programs. Second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell and City Council Resolution. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to be recorded in support of efforts to increase the current level of services at Tewksbury State Hospital. Entertain a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. On the motion, Councilor Mercia.
On the motion, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Christine O'Connor, our city solicitor, for execution and delivery of this very important resolution. I did come by on Thursday, I believe, to, I had a copy for every one of my colleagues. This was the proposal by Terry Downs, who happens to be the vice chair of Tewksbury Hospital Board of Trustees. He's also the executive director of programs on Homeland Security from Middlesex Community College. We did attend that meeting at Clark Auditorium, and we did receive his proposal, and I copied that for each of my colleagues, gave it to the city clerk to put in our packet so that this could accompany the resolution. I gave a copy to the city solicitor, who in turn did a tremendous job at putting out this resolution. So thank you for your efforts. That was wonderful. Thank you. I think this is very important.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion, Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I agree with Councilor Mercia. It is well done and well written. And maybe I should probably brought this up at the motion response with the overdoses, but and I know Councilor Mercia does this every day at her job as well, but there are phone numbers that can be called on a daily basis for those individuals that do want help. There are local detoxes that are in the area. Tewksbury is one of them. Haverhill, Westboro, as Mr. Chipley had said earlier. Mr. Manager, if Councilor Mercia and I provide those numbers to the city, maybe they can be put on the city's website. What you do is you call every morning. They tell you the availability of help through detox and through further programming. So, it is another small piece. Hopefully, somebody does want the help, they can go and they can obtain it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rourke. Further discussion on this item? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to applaud all those involved, including Councilor Mercia for the great motion and Madam Solicitor for this great resolution. This is, as you stated earlier, Mr. Mayor, that this campaign begins tonight. It was always baffling to me why facilities for rehabilitation and detox want to establish themselves in cities. That was always baffling to me, where the elements are all around. But Tewksbury State Hospital is a fantastic facility. It is enormous, the amount of beds that could be happening up there. So this is a great step towards a solution. So I definitely support it. But if it's okay with the maker of the motion, I'd like to include, if we can CC or send a copy of this resolution to the governor's office as well. Let them know what Lowell, that we're on the forefront on this, and we want some action, and appropriate funding for this as well. That will give them it would be a, quote, heads-up measure as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. No objection. I think that makes some sense, Mr. Manager, to include the governor and lieutenant governor of the executive branch on this as well. Further discussion on this? Roll call.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, hold on, Mr. Clerk. Okay, can I help? Yes? Can you come up to the podium?
On behalf of the Tewksbury Hospital,
Okay, well, let me just entertain
I'd like
a
to
motion
suspend the rules to
Second
allow
it.
this young lady to
by Councilor
speak.
Mercia, seconded by Councilor
I
Belanger.
have a cousin who committed suicide. She wasn't on drugs, and she needed help. And Tewksbury probably could have helped her. Sorry. I haven't spoken out loud about this, but she jumped off the bridge, 2 weeks ago. So I'm here to find out what the city's doing to help her and anybody like her who is depressed. She was depressed through divorce 20 years ago, and she carried this burden on her. And
Okay, why don't...
I just need to find out what can we do to help? Like Tewksbury's there to help people that are on drugs. Well, what about the people that are depressed? And and what's the city doing to help find my cousin? She's in the river right now, and we're there every day trying to find her.
Why don't we do this, Miss, why don't
And I'm
you...
sorry, I just thought that it was a
You don't-
good time
look,
to
you-
bring this up.
You don't have to be sorry. Why don't you do this? Why don't we get your name and your telephone number, and the city manager and I will, we'll get in, we'll connect with you, and we'll
Okay.
have to reach out, we'll have to, reach out to the chief of police and find out the status of
Okay.
that. And there are services in the city. There are mental health services available for people up at various, at least one location throughout the city. So let's we'll get together, or we'll call you and
Okay.
get some information for you. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
You don't have to
interrupt,
be
but I
sorry.
just thought that was the perfect timing
That's
because
fine.
the hospital's there, to help people, and my cousin needed help, and I don't know, she just didn't know we had to reach out. Maybe we can do something for the future or something to let people know it's, depression's really a hard thing too,
Right, I agree. So why don't somehow you get your telephone number to, there's a gentleman, Nicholas is right behind you, okay? Further discussion on this item? Roll call.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Moving on to subcommittee reports. The Finance Subcommittee met last evening, April 6th. Council Leahy, you want to come up here? Take the chair, please, for this. I can make a brief report.
Chair recognizes Mayor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee met last evening to go over a number of items that were referred to the subcommittee. The first item that we discussed was overtime, general overtime, and then specifically we had a number of questions relative to the fire overtime. The manager and his finance team were in attendance, along with Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Martin, Councilor Mercia, and Milonazo were also present, and essentially the presentation included a number of charts and breakdowns of this year's overtime in comparison to multiple years. There has been, certainly we know in the Department of Public Works, as a result of the snow this year, the snow and ice budget has seen a significant increase, upwards of 310%. But other areas of concern certainly was the fire department overtime budget. Our manager indicated that they're reviewing policies to address the 41% increase in sick time, which essentially results in an increase in overtime because you have to fill those vacancies when firefighters call in sick. There is a vacancy. The city's committed to keep open or close just one company per shift. So moving forward, with this level of coverage and the sick time, and the city will have to close 2 companies in order to close that gap. Otherwise, we would exceed the budget. There was $745,000 was budgeted this year with an additional $300,000 transfer. But at this level, we will exceed that budget and would total of $1.2 million. So with that, the manager has indicated that measure, that stopgap measure, is to go through the closing process. And again, look at sick time policies as his staff is throughout the other departments as well. So that was a report from the fire department overtime. Before we move on to the FY14 and FY15, 14 audit statements and FY15 budget, I just wanted to invite members of the subcommittee if there are any additional comments on the fire overtime. No? Okay. So there was no motion. That was just to be brought forward as a report of progress And secondly, there was a review of the audit statements as well. We had the auditor present. A number of items have been closed out from prior years. Essentially, there's only 4 new items this year. Still looking at cash reconciliation in the auditor's office, closing some outstanding accounts that didn't have any balances in there, but it was important to just do some housekeeping, if you will, Madam Auditor. If you wouldn't mind, if you would just give a brief recap of the FY14. I know you went through it last night, but I think those are the 2 major items that came through. It was I guess by all accounts, a pretty clean audit, and there was some positive feedback from members of the committee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the overall feel from the audit was that the city was in a very good, strong position. There was a reduction in fund balance to the government-wide statements. A good portion of that was because the city decided to set aside certain funds for the stabilization of the OPEB accounts. And that's actually a positive thing, but just in the manner of how those statements are presented, it then is a reduction in your government-wide statements because it's no longer available to spend on the governmental funds. So the other part of it was the management comments, as the mayor said. There were 4 new ones on there, but they were all very minor. In fact, the auditors, as we spoke, going through them all together, said, these are very minor things. They're not anything of great concern. As the mayor said, a few of the items were just housekeeping, cleaning out some old accounts. They had 0 balance accounts. They just, were old and outstanding. Every item that is in the management letters, comments, is either in process or has been completed with the exception of 1. So, I think that'll be reflected in the next comment letter that comes out for FY15.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if there's any other questions, but that was the report. There was one other item, Councilor Kennedy reminded me, which was significant. It was actually his motion, that the bid for the independent audit is being bid this year, and the solicitation has already been sent out, correct? And will be awarded sometime soon?
Yes, so the solicitation went out, we had 4 bids, and next week we will actually be doing the interviews with the top respondents.
Okay, good. So with that, that's a report of progress from the Finance Subcommittee meeting that was held yesterday at 5 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
So accept a motion to accept this as a report of progress by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lee. Next item on the agenda, we have still under subcommittee reports. There was a meeting this evening, Public Safety Subcommittee report. Chair recognizes Chairman of that subcommittee, Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, April 7th, we have Public Safety Subcommittee meeting. Joining myself, Councilor Mercier, and Councilor Belanger was Manager Murphy, Deputy Superintendent Deb Friedel, Councilor Samaras, and multiple neighborhood leaders. The agenda item for the subcommittee was an update regarding Lowell Police Department policies and procedures for upcoming spring and summer months. Deputy Friedel gave a presentation which stated the police department's plans going forward from now until wintertime. The police department plans to assign several detectives to parole operations over the next 6 months. They will join patrol officers and be in all neighborhoods of the city. All neighborhoods will be covered. They will reevaluate the strategy going forward, but the plan is for the next 6 months would be to partner up detectives from different units, special investigations to patrol operations. Senior staff will be involved, lieutenants and captains, so the city streets have a consistent presence in the early evening, late evening, and early morning hours. How to pay for this? Deputy Friedel stated that they'll be using various grants to pay for overtime, for investigations, for game enforcement, and for patrols. 2 types of investigations going forward, Deputy stated. First would be the criminal investigations that deal with general criminal behavior, and secondly would be the special investigations, which deals with gangs, drugs, and high-level crimes. The Lowell Police Department is also in a collaborative effort with multiple state agencies and federal agencies, including the State Police, Middlesex Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, as well as the DEA and ATF. So they'll all be assisting Lowell in the upcoming months to deal with any high-level problems. And Deputy Friedel then got into prevention. She spoke about the Summer Student Police Academy, which last year served over 250 of Lowell's kids. The academy is held at Lowell High School and will be available to all children. The police department also collaborates with agencies such as the Boys and Girls Club, the CMAA, UTEC, Lowell Parks and Recreation, and the school department. So the goal going forward for the spring and the summer is to basically flood the city with extra patrols and prevention-wise to hit our city's youth, to put them into camps, academies, and that will be, once again, a collaborative effort with everyone involved. Lastly, Councilor Belanger did ask Deputy Friedel about the new law that started actually today in the state. And what it was is whenever a driver needs to use the windshield wipers for any reason due to inclement weather, the operator's headlights must be on at all times now. So she did state that that went into effect today, and that will be looked at ongoing. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that's my report of progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to add to, it was a very good meeting chaired by Councilor Rourke. Deputy Superintendent Friedel gave a nice presentation regarding the gang unit, and that, you know, what I'd like to get across, I think it's important to reiterate that this gang unit was almost, a year ago, was almost non-existent. It was in sort of disarray with the incoming chief, was only 4 or 5 months on the job, and this unit was, again, in sort of disarray, but it is on solid ground now, to say the least. We have 6 active members. I think we're far better poised than we were a year ago to combat and be responsive to activity. So I know I have a great peace of mind going into the season, I guess, if you will, as the weather breaks. They really have a full-fledged plan to put into place where the activity dictates for us to do so. So I think we're going to be in good shape this coming season, Mr. Mayor. So I just thought it bears mentioning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions, discussion? Just briefly on this shot spotter, Councilor Rourke or Mr. Manager, what is the time frame on getting that installed and up and running? I mean, we're going right into the warmer weather where we see an increase in outdoor activity, hence challenges. I mean, you can get back to me, but I think it'd be good to know that, and let the residents know that. Mr. Manager?
Yeah, normally it probably wouldn't be able to be implemented until September because of the time it takes to borrow the money, but because you set up that capital stabilization account, we can access that money right away to start to implement the program immediately.
Okay.
So it was a wise move to set up that stabilization account.
Okay, so you can keep the council abreast when that is up and running, or the public, quite frankly, when that's going to be implemented. Okay. Further discussion on that report? All those, motion to accept that report as a report of progress by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. That concludes the reports, subcommittee reports. We have a report from the wire inspectors from Comcast Southern New England. Request installation of a 3-inch underground conduit at 202 Chelmsford Street. Motion to adopt and accept the accompanying order by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. We have, next section is petitions. We have 5 claims for property damage. Motion to refer to the law department for a report and recommendation by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? That motion passes as well. Next petition is a miscellaneous. Timothy Quinn from Jimmy John's Gourmet Sandwiches is requesting installation of an overhanging sign at 134 Merrimack Street. Motion to refer this to the law department for report and recommendation by Councilor Marcia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion passes. Moving on to the next section is City Council motions. First motion of the evening by Councilor Rourke. Request City Manager invite Deputy Superintendent Jay Lang of the School Department to address the City Council regarding the MSBA process concerning the new Lowell High School project. Seconded by Councilor Marcia. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quickly before I speak on it, do you want to combine this with 10.4? Councilor Samaras' motion, very similar.
Any objection to the maker of the motion? Why don't we take 10.4 at the same time? 10.4 is by Councilor Samaras. Request City Manager have school officials present an information timeline to the City Council regarding the steps that need to take place to plan and build a new high school. Second by Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following this motion, I know we had a subcommittee meeting at the high school a few weeks back. I mean, did get good news going forward of what's next with the high school. I thought, hearing Mr. Lang speak on the matter multiple times, very impressive. He's an expert in the area and on this project. So I thought him coming to City Council to be able to speak not only to us but to the public, to be able to answer any questions that we may have regarding feasibility or location or whatnot. Any type of question whatsoever, I think he's the right person to deliver that information. So I did speak to Mr. Lang. He can do it, so I'm sure the manager can set that up, and he looks forward to coming to City Council and giving us the next step in the phase. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. There are two motions on the building of a new high school here tonight, and I believe it's because we know, as a City Council, this is important. This will be this City Council's legacy to the City of Lowell and the children of the City of Lowell. I know as a councilor we're responsible for the building, but I believe it's important, as Councilor Rourke does, for the city side and school side to come together to understand the timeline and the steps that must be taken to carry this project through and to accomplish this task. I also believe those people who watch this program or the council's work will have a better understanding of the process, because this is just not about tax dollars, but this is going to be what type of an educational system do we want to have for our children. So I believe this is very important to do that, and it'll just expedite the handling of different matters if everybody's brought up to speed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on this motion? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I plan to support both motions. I'm just looking for a point of clarification on Councilor Samaras' motion, and maybe I'm just reading it too literally, but he talks about informational timeline to the City Council regarding the steps that need to take place to plan and build a new high school. Now, again, we've been talking about a new high school at a different location. Are we talking about renovating the current high school where it's presently located? I just want to make sure that we're not talking about something that I certainly don't support at the present time, moving the high school out of the downtown. He's just looking for a timeline on the project itself under the MSBA.
To the maker of the motion?
No, basically, thank you for that. I mean, I'm not looking at a specific high school. I'm looking for the project. And it's just my way of stating, as long as we all know what steps have to be taken, whatever direction these steps will take us, because this is going to be about a lot of information that we as city councils and school committee people are going to receive, and then once we receive that information, what decisions can be made and carried through. I'm just concerned about a process, ensuring that, for transparency, that's an overused word, but that the public knows what we're doing each step as it comes along. That's all.
Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo, all set? Further discussion, let me just share, and then I'll refer to the city manager. These motions are very timely. It was just today that myself, the city manager, finance team, Jay Lang, we received a communication just last week and we immediately set up a conference call today with MSBA. They are very eager to continue to work with us, to walk us through what I will say, and I think the manager will agree, very complicated, very technical process. What I will do when I get back is I will forward to you a timeline that we did receive on the various steps, and all of the deliverables that are required very soon. You know, somewhat technical, but like you say, everything is open, transparent. But it's very confusing and it's very complicated. So I think it's important to have that meeting, to have Jay Lang, and if possible, Mr. Manager, I think the best individuals who are willing and have offered a lot of assistance is to have SBA officials come up and join us at that meeting. If we can do that and make that happen, I think they will do a service to this community. Mr. Manager, and then we'll go back to the members of the council. Anything to add, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, we have the timeline after today's conference call, so we can give a presentation. The point person is Sarah Blash, so I'll give her a call tomorrow and see if she could come to a meeting to answer questions. But I think we're pretty, it is confusing, but we're getting on board, and I think we'll be able to answer any questions if she can't make it here.
I mean, the manager has already completed initial paperwork to stay well ahead of any of these deadlines. So Council Smaris and then Council Rourke and then others.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the city manager. I mean, this actually answers our question because you just gave us more information, and this is information that the public has to have. And whether to go back to Councilor Milanazzo's question, whether we're talking about refurbishing, rebuilding, or building new, that hasn't been decided. That's to be part of this process. Thank you.
It's a very cumbersome process. That decision, the feasibility study will not be, according to their timeline, we will not get to the feasibility study until 2016. Correct, Mr. Manager? Mr. Baldwin, I think it was January 2016, by the way.
Correct, that's the projected timeline, and it's January.
So it's methodical. There's not going to be a rush process by any stretch, but it's important to keep updated. Council Rourke?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just suggesting to the city manager, if you want to extend the invitation to the school committee as well to join us for Mr. Lang's presentation, and with the MSBA, it might be beneficial as well. So thank you.
I'm sure they'll be happy to attend. Was there further discussion on these? No? All those in favor of both motions signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion passes. Motions pass. Next item, next motion is Council Rourke. Request city manager of traffic engineer explore the possibility of pedestrian crossing signals in downtown Lowell. Second by Councilor Mercia. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I apologize to the clerk for misspeaking on when I filed the motion. Obviously, there are pedestrian signals in downtown Lowell. What I did notice in working there is I do see green lights on, and at the same time, I do see pedestrian crossing signals at the same time. And we did get an email last week of a citizen that did get hit by a vehicle. So just maybe with our new traffic engineer, just take a look at it. I know under the plan that was filed a couple of years ago through the council that was going to be part of it, where you had the green lights and a pedestrian crossing at the same time. But maybe just take a look at it to see if any improvements can be made to avoid anything else in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on this item? Council Milanazzo?
If I could, just to add to Councilor Rourke's motion, some of the pedestrian lights actually turn on without any pedestrian pushing the signal button. So I could be out here at 11 o'clock at night sitting for 30 seconds at a pedestrian. So again, that's an issue that the traffic engineer needs to look at as well. If again, it's right out here in front of City Hall all the time. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion. Councilor Leahy on the motion?
Yeah, I just want to make one more comment too. So now that we have a new traffic engineer, when we get a report on this, I think with the two-way traffic now, it's such a new concept with crossing. I forget how you put it, probably just you're crossing with traffic now that we're not used to. So I don't know if there's any type of education we can do, but anything we can do to make it safer. We've had this problem with Dutton Street before, and now that we have all the two-way streets back again, it's just a little confusing. Everybody thinks they have the right of way, and cars and pedestrians don't mix. So some education on this will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries as well. Next motion of the evening by Council Samaras. Request city manager bring together members of the art community to plan a major art festival in the city of Lowell. Purpose of the committee is to create the vision, timeline, and team to perform the task. Second by Council Rourke. Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. There's been a lot of discussion about having a major art festival in this city. Recently, the Subcommittee on the Arts heard from many members of the art community about the difficulty of actually planning or doing a major art festival, and they talked about needing time. And this is something I understand. But I'd like to have the city manager, I wanted to get started. So if I could ask that the city manager bring together members of the art community to discuss this issue, to create the vision, to talk about a timeline, whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever it takes to do it right. Mayor Elliott talked about having a major art festival. All of us, this entire city council, has attended some function in support of doing this. So I think its time has come, and if this group can set the vision and a timeline, and then help select a team to do it, I think we have a great chance of this actually happening. And I think an art festival in this city could be as large as a folk festival and as successful. I mean, that's the future that I'm looking for. And so you talk about this as a city, it's educationally and culturally supportive of so many things. So this is a good direction. So I'm asking the manager to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on this motion? Councilor Kennedy?
Yeah, just as a suggestion, we do have a Arts and Cultural Commission, and they should be involved with this as well, in addition to that, the other group. They're a standing group, and I can recall that a few months ago, we appointed somebody, and they came to the microphone, and the name escapes me now, but they said that they were interested in more festivals. And so I would think we would try to take that person's energy and any other energy that might exist on that Arts and Cultural Commission and put it to work for Council Samaras' goal.
Thank you, Council. Council Milanazzo, I know you just had the spring fling coming up, which
Correct.
is separate
Which
and
is-
distinct from what Council Samaras was
Correct.
talking about. I believe at that subcommittee meeting, there was some preliminary discussion.
Correct. There was preliminary discussion, and I think that Council Samaras brings forward a good motion to follow up from that subcommittee meeting.
Yep.
Because those that were in attendance said that they would like at least a year to plan an art festival.
Right.
And I think getting all the parties together makes sense.
So the
So,
next step is to establish
Correct.
a committee to do
Correct.
that. Okay, good. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next motion of the evening, 10-4, we already took up for Council Samaras. Next motion, 10-5, we have Council Kennedy. Request city manager have school administration provide a progress report on the implementation of a STEM curriculum at Lowell High School that includes an estimated time to reach that goal and identify any issues that would staff the effort to reach that goal. Seconded by Councilor Belanger. Council on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the City Council remember that probably it was several months ago now that that this City Council requested that the school committee and that the school administration consider implementing a STEM curriculum within Lowell High School. And a few months have gone by now. It's my understanding that the matter was referred to the school committee subcommittee on curriculum, and then it was also sent to the school administration, but there hasn't been any communication in several months, and so this motion simply asks for a progress report on how that issue's moving along over on the school side.
That's correct, Councilor. You did ask, and as a liaison to the school committee, as a chair, I did bring that motion forward. It was discussed and presented at the school committee meeting. It did pass and has been referred over. I'd be happy to get you an update on the status of that. Further discussion on this motion? And by way of discussion, there is a similar program. It's just titled a little bit differently. As you know, it's called Pathways, but it is still the track that students take to go on at engineering, math, science, technology. So it's just, we'll get a report on that. Further discussion on this motion? See none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next motion of the evening, we have Council Kennedy, request the city manager to have Lowell Fire Department provide a report that compares the workload of the number of calls to the increase in overtime over the last 5 years. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that much of probably what this motion asked for was probably discussed yesterday evening and was included in the city manager's presentation to the subcommittee. However, I think it's not a bad motion. I think if we're going to look seriously at the overtime in the school, in the fire department, I think we have an obligation to first ask the fire chief to try to justify why that overtime has gone up the way that it has. So that's the motion.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on that motion? Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just reading the motion, maybe I misunderstand it. I don't see the correlation between the number of calls made to a fire station to the increase in overtime. I mean, there could be many reasons why, we need overtime for the fire department, but whether they get one call, if they get 150 calls, what does that matter as far as overtime? If you have a couple of people that are out, you got to have the coverage. I'm not sure, maybe a different wording of the motion. I'm just not sure why one correlates with the other as far as the fire department goes.
Council Kennedy?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I would agree with that, Council Rourke. I'm not so sure that there is a correlation between the number of calls, but I wasn't sure as to how to word the motion otherwise without including a whole myriad of reasons of why the overtime could have gone up. And, we did have somewhat of a discussion last evening on the overtime at the subcommittee meeting and why, and some of the reasons why there were. But I think that the crux of the motion is just to ask for the fire chief to justify why the overtime's gone up.
I'll support that. Thank you.
That's it, Council. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Next motion of the evening, again by Councilor Kennedy, request city manager have proper department inspect the 2012 bridge at the end of Jackson Street for safety issues resulting from the missing granite between the aluminum rail and the base of the light post. Second by Councilor Martin. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion was filed by request, but I do think that it's somewhat of a serious matter on two different fronts. One is, the reason it was brought to my attention is there's a portion of the granite that was around the bridge that's broken away and created a gap that could be dangerous for small people or young people. And so it's something that should be repaired. But, in the motion, I didn't know what the bridge was called, so I just called it the 2012 bridge, because the bridge is only 3 years old. And if we do have a bridge that's only 3 years old, it shouldn't be, I don't think the granite should be falling away this early. And so, besides there being a safety issue, it's also an issue of, who provided the bridge and why is the bridge not holding up for longer than a 3-year period. So if we could get a report on that, that's really what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Leahy, request city manager at proper department have a spring cleaning in the downtown area, which would include replacing burnt out light bulbs as well as cleaning around the dumpsters in the alley. Second by Councilor Mercer. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I put this motion on, in the packet this week, we got the response from Councilor Belange's spring cleaning report, and apparently that's going to happen, I think, May 2nd, it said. What I'm looking for is more of if we can make sure we replace the burnt out bulbs throughout the downtown, Palmer Street and Market Street seemed to have two different color bulbs, so I don't know where we're going with that yet, but if we can coordinate the same color lights, either the clear or the auburn or something. But, and then I know that we were gonna look at increase the wattage on, maybe on Market Street to try to brighten up the area. But, so I'm looking to get the burnt out light bulbs replaced. I know that Dave Roulette and the inspectional department's been working with the alleyways, but we really need to do a better job on trying to keep up with those alleyways. We have people living downtown now, they look out back and the dumpsters are just overflowing. It's gonna, besides being unsightly, it's gonna lead to rodent problems. And then just if we can take a look around, I think we're getting some new barrels, the new receptacles downtown, but just to make sure that the barrels that are gonna stay are cleaned up. And any, I'm sure there's a list out there of the broken sign poles now that need to be replaced from being knocked down over the winter. So if we can just make a list of those and see what we're gonna do with those, and just make sure that we get the downtown cleaned up in a timely manner. Any tripping hazards, anything like that. I'm sure May 2nd is gonna be a good day. We're gonna get a lot done that day, cleaned up, some painting. So that'll take care of a lot of it, but anything that the city needs to do, lights, posts, garbage barrels. So that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. There was, manager held a meeting, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, with all the property owners downtown, and all of those items were visited. I can just say, well, I don't want to speak for the manager, but the city's conducting an audit, an energy lighting audit in the entire downtown to figure out the most cost-effective way to increase the illumination of those lamps throughout the city. I see Mr. Bellegarde's here. Do you want to give the general overview that you gave at that meeting on the cleanup procedure in the downtown? They also have Councilor Belanger as well. Did you want to go first, Councilor? Or?
No, why don't we let the commissioner speak, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, members of the council. Yes, we're doing a comprehensive cleaning of downtown on May 2nd. We're looking at empowering ROTC along with the national parks, along with the downtown neighborhood, some city employees, to really give it a good general spring cleaning. Weather permitting, we're going to try to do even more so mulching and planting flowers, hanging flags, things of that nature. In terms of the lights that are not working properly in the downtown, Councilor, I know Mr. Snow is doing a complete inventory of those Victorian lights, so we should have something, he should have something to the city manager. But more so, if it's light bulbs or simple fix-its, we will definitely do that, put that as part of that cleanup program as well. It's my understanding that those solar panel receptacles, you're actually going to start seeing them downtown. I guess Public Works probably dropped off a half a dozen or so, with another dozen expected. The beauty of those, they hold twice as much. You can't just stuff bags and large items in there. It's basically trash, litter type waste, which will help us with some of the downtown problems that we have. Currently, some of the constant calls that we get are from barrels that are filled with homeowners' trash and debris.
Council Belanger? Are you all set, Council Leahy? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge Commissioner Bellegarde was here. I just wanted him to elaborate on the cleanup. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Very good. Further discussion, Councilor Marcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking about the Victorian lights, there are Victorian lights that abut the South Common on Summer Street. We have staff that leave on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 o'clock at night. It's very, very dark. So if we could see why those lights are out, maybe that just simply needs a bulb. And it's like quite along the corridor of that. And my next question regarding dumpsters, did we as a council some years ago, before you were here, Mr. Manager, pass an ordinance that we are supposed to put fencing around dumpsters? So who's enforcing that? Who do we call for information on that? Eric
Mr. Manager?
Slagle?
Eric Slagle, and we'll follow up with Eric. I know I walked that alley last week. It was deplorable, but we cleaned it up immediately, and the inspectional services got down there. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It was terrible. But I'll talk to Eric Slagle tomorrow about the dumpster ordinance and
Thank you.
enforcing it in the alleys.
Yes, thank you.
If I could also, ROTC kind of beat me into the chambers tonight, so I was compelled to sit upstairs doing the presentation. I just want to also add, because I would love to have just said that these cadets donate several thousand hours easily to the city of Lowell every year, because most of it they spend with us in the parks, and they really should be commended. They not only, when they move, they kind of walk in step. I mean, it's really something to see, and it's a testament of just what the good work that the headmaster and Lieutenant Colonel is doing at Lowell High School. So I just wanted to mention that they do a lot of good work for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellegarde. Council Leahy?
Just on that note, they do. I remember having the shirts that they donate anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000 hours for the city of Lowell. So that's a good point. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next motion of the evening is Council Leahy requests City Manager have the Human Resources Department present an explanation of the changes in healthcare benefits. Excuse me, second by Council Kennedy. Council Leahy?
Thank you. Just after receiving a few calls, I know a lot more information has gone out, but if it's not too much trouble, maybe just one night we could have a explanation, and if anybody wanted to come down that night and had questions, we could take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Next two motions of the evening by myself. Council Leahy, would you kindly take the chair?
Next motion of the night by Mayor Elliott, requests city manager provide a report on the number of riders that use the LRTA bus. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I will be very brief. This is just like to get a report on the number of riders on the bus. It seems like there are less and less riders each day. From what I understand, there's another similar motion that I filed. Just manager and myself were at a Lowell plan meeting, and there's concern on how to get people downtown. I know all of the buses go to the terminal, and it's a new system, the intermodal stop at the LRTA, but considering the number of, or lack thereof, in my opinion, riders on the LRTA, it seems like we need to take a look at it and try to do a better job with our public transportation system and moving people throughout the city. I think there are some better routes that can be developed, and we just need to take a look at what's going on with the public transportation system, work with the LRTA on how to do that. So that's the essence of the motion. I'm sure there'll be more discussion on this, and once we get the report, it can go to a subcommittee, but I think we need to get the ball rolling to find out how many riders there are, and then, there's another motion that I'd like to speak on briefly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. I think these are two good motions. I would also like to say that I've attended a number of neighborhood meetings. Okay, in some of the neighborhood meetings, the common discussion is either lack of service or the timeliness of that service. And they themselves are saying, we would take the bus if the bus was available at such and such a time to go to such and such locations. Could I ask the maker of the motion to consider sending this to the subcommittee on transportation, but also asking members of the administration of the LRTA to come before that group to discuss, their plans for the future and the ridership? I think it'd be good to have them there. So just a suggestion at this point.
Yeah, no objection at all whatsoever once we get that report. That's fine. I probably should have taken both of these motions together, but essentially they need to both be addressed at the same time. But I think that's a great idea. send both of these to the subcommittee.
Okay, so the motion's amended.
Motion to have the members of the administration of the LRTA come before the subcommittee on transportation.
Okay, seconded by Mayor Elliott. All those in favor, say aye. Motion passes. Last motion of the night by Mayor Elliott, request city manager work with LRTA to develop a system to improve bus access to downtown, seconded by Councilor Rourke.
Thank you. I mean, downtown is one thing, but I think as Councilor Samaras just alluded to, the neighborhoods as well. You know, and one item that I think the manager brought up at the Lowell Plan meeting was one way to improve usage of the bus system is to have an app for phones developed, so you can tell when the bus is coming, and you know the kids are more likely, if they can see what time the bus is coming, they're more likely to probably to go rather than standing out and wait and think an alternative way. So it's something to think about, and again, just to initiate a discussion with the LRTA to see how we can improve access downtown as well as throughout the city using our public transportation system. Thank you.
Thank you. There is, at last night's meeting, there was representatives at the Pawtuckaville neighborhood meeting. There was representatives from Mass DOT maybe. And there is a survey going out now that everything's included with that, the apps and how to improve it, so. Councilor Samaras?
The issue that I have, it's been discussed for a number of months at different meetings that it's coming. And the common complaint that I've heard, as an example someone gave, was, I want to take the 11:30 bus to get to work. I get there at 11:25, and each day it may have been there at 11:15, or it may not come to 11:45. You can't have people planning on taking a bus with that type of a range. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the apps are important.
Yeah. Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Mercy, are you all set?
Are we all off this subject right now?
Sure, as soon as all those in favor of the motion, signal by saying aye. Yes. Councilor Mercy.
I just want to simply say that I went before the Board of Parks, and Tom Belgard was there as well, and the Board of Parks unanimously supported Point Park to be renamed Utopian Park. So Newell Flather and the Cool committee must be really happy about that. So.
Okay, so we'll get a report on that, Mr. Belgrad, I'm sure sometime in the future that it was voted unanimously. No more agenda on items on our agenda, but Mr. Manager, there's two items. I did want to just hold the Commissioner of Parks and ask you to come to the podium. Motion to suspend the rules, and the purpose is to discuss the seasons, the condition of the parks, and when permits will be released for all of the athletic seasons, i.e. baseball, soccer, softball, etc. I know that there is going to be somewhat of a delay, but I thought while we're at a public meeting, you can let all of the parents know who are eager to get out there that you're going to do the best you can, but permits are going to be delayed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's true that because of the winter we've had, we've kind of got backed up. We are now working to put our seasonal workforce together. As you can see, the snow is gone, but we're in that mud period right now. We're hoping that in the next couple of weeks, things will change. The season, varsity was our priority. We got some of the varsity sports up and going. They're not all up yet, but they will be, hopefully, sometime next week. The challenges we have right now is the fact that it looks like it's going to rain for the next 3 days. Then we're going to have a great weather on the weekend, and with a little luck, maybe we'll start drying out, and next week will be a good week to get going. There are 38 fields, so we got to start somewhere and end somewhere. But our list of priorities are we get the high school, both Lowell High and Lowell Catholic, up and running. For the most part, they are. It's a little choppy, but I think we're in fairly good shape with that. The neighborhoods will probably be delayed by at least a week, possibly 2. I thought maybe we'd wait 1 more week to see exactly where we are before we made some kind of a public announcement. I'll be talking with the manager to find out how he wants to handle that. But the Board of Parks at their last scheduled meeting said that, they understand where we are with this, so if the permits have to be held or delayed or or rescheduled, they'll work to do that. So ultimately, Mr. Mayor, we're probably looking at about 2 weeks of a delay time, which really isn't bad when you see exactly what we have out there for field space damage, winter damage, and all the like. We are compiling a list now to talk about how to address winter damage and things like that. So
It's further complicated by some of these fields, South Common, that's heavily permitted throughout the year. Everyone, you go by it, you know, there's still 3 or 4 feet of snow. Same thing on Hovey. These, just for the people at home, I mean, these were used as snow field for snow removal. So that further complicates usage of the field and preparation. Thank you, Mr. Belgade. That was important to get that message out to people at home.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, do you have an announcement while we're still under suspension?
Yes, thank you very much. Because of the heavy snow this winter, we originally delayed the yard waste collection until May. But in the last week, there's been some good melting in the city, so I've decided that we're going to begin yard waste collection next Monday. So beginning next Monday, according to your day that the trash is picked up, also you can put out your yard waste on the day that your trash is collected. So it begins next Monday.
Lastly, I see some students in the audience. UMass Lowell, Middlesex Community College, Lowell High. You too? Interested residents? No? Oh, you teach at the high school? Up in the balcony? Excellent. Oh, very good. Very good. Anything further on this, members of the council? See, you never know when you're going to be called on the... Okay, motion to adjourn by Council Kennedy. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. This meeting stand adjourned.